Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in here again on the channel. This is Son of Liberty. So some of you guys may be wondering why I have an interview posted on my YouTube channel with a female student from one of my most recent classes with Mike Glover of Fieldcraft Survival. Well, that's a great question and I'm glad that you asked. So let me fill you guys in on a little background information which I believe will validate this interview as well as make it more meaningful for you guys to share. So over the past 10 years of taking pistol classes, carbine classes, any kind of self-defense classes that you can think of, over the past 10 years, I've probably only seen a total of 4, maybe 5 female students. Those numbers are really, really low. So when I got to the training facility down in South Carolina, I was not kind of prepared for the diversification of females that I was seeing in some of these classes. So let me give you an example. One of the classes that I took, which was a low light, no light pistol course, a father brought his 9-year-old and 13-year-old sister. In another class, a mom had brought her 17-year-old daughter as well as I believe her 20-year-old son to take some training classes with her. There was a couple other female students. I believe there was also a 13-year-old girl in one of the other classes. So there was just a wide diversification of females in these classes, and that got me thinking that is there a way that we can bridge this gap to be able to bring more women into the fold? So if you are not following me on Instagram, I have started a campaign, if you will, of highlighting female shooters in the shooting community that I believe are what I call role models, but they are people who I believe are real. In a world of social media, we have to be careful with who we interact with because a lot of people put on masks behind the camera in order to drive followers and those types of things. So with that being said, I wanted to interview one of the female students in hopes that maybe this interview might encourage and empower another woman who is sitting on the sidelines right now. Maybe they just bought their first gun, or maybe they are considering buying their first gun because of all the chaos that's going on across our country today, to make that move, sign up for a training class, and get out there and train. So without further ado, guys, enjoy the interview. Please overlook some of the background noise. I made the mistake of using a shotgun mic indoors, and it ended up being a little bit too much. And so I ended up capturing all the people that were kind of going in and out to their other classes because I didn't have a secure, quiet location to do this interview. So anyway, guys, without further ado, my interview with Nanette Kelley. Enjoy. All right, guys, so thanks so much for tuning in to the channel. This is Son of Liberty. So I'm down here in South Carolina, Lawrence, South Carolina, at the Sawmill Training Facility. And one of the things that I noticed immediately when I got here was the amount of women shooters that were actually down here at this class. And so I got to obviously being very curious, and I met one of the other female shooters. And your name?
Nanette Kelley.
Nanette Kelley.
Nanette.
Nanette.
Yes.
Okay. So I got to talking with her just about her experiences. You know, just as a female, as a shooter. And if you guys have been following me on Instagram, one of the things that I've been kind of promoting to other Instagram people that follow me and eventually on my YouTube channel is I want to see more women in classes like this. And because as you've had the experience to now train with Mike personally, Mike Glover from Fieldcraft Survival, I'll make sure to post a link to all his information down below. We had a discussion about him. He is a professional among professionals. And so what I wanted to do is really kind of get your take. And again, one of the things I've been promoting on Instagram lately is how can we overcome the obstacles that women face when it comes to a very male-dominated type of environment like training facilities, training classes such as this when it comes to firearms and self-defense. However, we want, as men, we want women to be more safe and more secure, but there's obstacles, and as a man, it's hard for me to see what it's like from a woman's perspective. And so you agreed to kind of have some Q&A with me so that I can hopefully be able to reach other females in the out there, whether we're talking about, you know, people's boyfriend or their girlfriends, their wives, sisters, whoever the case may be. So kind of tell us a little bit about, if you don't care, like how did all this, you had experience with firearms in the beginning, is that correct? So tell me about that.
So my father was a law enforcement officer and had weapons around the house, so I learned to actually shoot his guns at a young age.
Okay.
Just out of him being responsible and making sure me and my siblings were not curious about firearms. So he took us to the range and we got to shoot everything, understand how it worked, and then there were weapons around the house, and we just knew that was part of his job, and
Right.
that was that. And so I was never unfamiliar, or it was never scary to me.
Okay.
And it was never, guns were never, they were just always part of my life.
Okay.
And then as I grew older and went to college, then after college, I think maybe in my 30s, my father gifted me a Glock 26, and that went in the nightstand, and I didn't go to a range for many years.
Okay, so with that being said, was there anything that kind of, was it work related? What kind of, I guess, once the gun was gifted to you, what happened with that? What actually prevented you, or what kind of kept you from going to the range and seeking out training during that time frame?
Well, nothing kept me from it. It just was like, oh, that's one of the guns that's in the house. It goes over there for a just in case. But I never trained.
Right.
And I would hear people say, you got to be shooting regularly, monthly, going to a range. And I was like, I guess I got to find a range. I guess I got to, figure it out. I don't know the range rules. And so it just sat there for a long time.
Right.
I knew I had one, which is a weird sense of security because you have one in the house, but I hadn't trained on it. I wasn't proficient
Right.
at it, or scenario training. What am I going to do if,
Right.
well, somebody breaks the door down, I just, that was it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So coming to a facility like this and training with the people that we've been privileged to train under, how has that changed your, I guess, perception? Actually, let's back up for just a second. So you had this lull, so you were gifted this Glock.
Yep.
It sat there in the house. Several years had passed by. What changed? What was there a catalyst that happened that said, okay, it's, this happened, it's time for this to happen? Tell us about that. What actually kind of drove that?
Sure. So not really. It was just kind of like circumstances, luck, fate. I don't know. So I have supported. Am I allowed to say that? Team Never Quit.
Yeah.
So I've watched Marcus Luttrell's Team Never Quit, or his podcast.
Yeah.
And I had listened to that, and I was on his. I've gone to the galas that he has for fundraising, and I'm on the I'm on their newsletter, and on the newsletter, an all-female shooting event was being offered in Texas on their ranch, and I was like, okay, that looks fun. Like it's a vacation and it's an opportunity to learn, and you get to shoot a ton of different kinds of guns. That's all it was, just an opportunity to be exposed to different kinds. So I signed up for that and I went, and it was awesome.
Okay.
It was all women instructors and all girls, all female attendees. And then I went the second year, so this was 2 years ago. I went twice in a row, and became more familiar. Glock still stayed in my nightstand. But and then as I listened to, you listen to a podcast, they interview somebody who has a podcast, and they interview somebody. So as I was listening to, I'm sure Team Never Quit, they interviewed somebody, and then it led to one of the, I think it was the Sean Ryan podcast with Mike Glover.
If you guys have not seen that,
really
it is probably one of the best interviews that I have ever. It was almost like a journey, and I say that, and I truly mean that. It was. To listen to Mike Glover's story of where he started and throughout his entire life, and I think the podcast is about 3.5 hours long. But I promise you, it's worth every minute of it.
Yep.
So, how long was the training class that you went to, where it was with Marcus Luttrell's Team Never Quit, and it was, you said, all female instructors?
She Never Quit.
She Never Quit.
It was a 2-day event. You go, you stay, and you had 4 hours of, you basically had bays that had, or 10 bays maybe, where they had, this is the Glock bay, and there was a Glock rep and all their guns. And then there were
like a SIG
rifles.
representative.
Yes,
or
there was a couple different brands, and then there were rifles, and then there was a 50 cal, and then there were ski. There was just a variety of different kinds. Where I would never get to have the opportunity to shoot all of those, and it really was an introduction to get women to get familiarized with just guns in general.
Awesome.
But you want to shoot a deer and go hunting, or you want a carbine, or you want a pistol, or you just want to go, So it was a networking, it was camaraderie, it was support, all that good stuff. And I got to shoot all that, and it was exhilarating. And then I did it the second year, took a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Girlfriends. I've taken a couple. And then, so then after that, right after that was when I stumbled upon Mike's podcast. So I saw that one that we're talking about, and then I immediately went over to his, and then I just was listening to him. And so the Mike's easy to listen to.
Right.
Very easy. You can tell he has a passion. His resume is ridiculously amazing. You know he's trained, but he also has a way with people.
That's one of the things that I think that drives people to Mike and the followers is just, and I'm here to tell you, he's as down to earth as they come. There is no ego with Mike, and I mean it is truly, when you meet him, it would be like meeting your neighbor for the first time if you just moved into a new neighborhood.
Who thanks you for coming, tells him he tells you he appreciates you, tells everybody that he loves them. Like he's a patriot. He's clearly, so he's trustworthy. I spent months listening to his podcast before I looked into going to a training.
So tell me about that. So you went to an all-female training facility, training class. It was 2 days. Now you went to that twice on two separate occasions. What drove you to? Because I would assume, and of course that's a dangerous word, but for a woman who may not be completely comfortable with all aspects of maybe the training culture, I'll use that word. It seems that would be an absolutely perfect, I guess, catalyst of everything that could possibly go right to make a woman as comfortable as possible with the introduction of firearms and training and blending all of those things together, almost like a utopia, okay? What made you decide to leave the utopia and travel outside of that type of environment,
that safety world of all women? Absolutely.
To make to something that was the unknown. So tell me about that.
So it truly was. I listened to his podcasts for months before I got on the website, and I was like, and then he's got, he's all over social media. He's got videos, YouTube, Instagram, and he's talking about things, all of his messages are awesome. And I was like, when I got on and I saw that he had a gunfighter pistol course, I was like, I want to learn from him or his team, because they're all amazing. And I was like, they're elite. And I felt comfortable with his passion for what he wants to do, which is help Americans prepare themselves for fill in the blank.
So now that you've had the opportunity, you've taken, I think 2 classes since you've been down here?
I took gunfighter pistol in Chicago a month ago. Okay. And then I came down here and I've taken gunfighter pistol again, and then everyday carry. Yes.
So tell me about how is your perspective, or has your perspective changed when it comes to how you looked at the training that you had taken before versus the training that you've had now? I mean, is there a massive difference between those two, or was one like a nice step into the other?
That was an introduction.
Okay.
Really, truly. This is truly training. And they go into a lot of detail about philosophy and the psychology behind what you're doing, being intentional, knowing your why. And then, they basically spend the time with you to help, take their experiences to give you enough to then go home and practice and prepare yourself and think about things like, what are you going to do in this scenario, and be prepared for that. I don't currently carry every day.
Okay.
And so I took the everyday carry course so that I could get familiar with that, and so I could get comfortable with that and get to that point.
So do you believe that now that you definitely have had some great instruction, do you feel like that now that you're ready to make that leap to everyday carry?
Yes.
That's really awesome. I mean, it truly is.
But when I was at the female event, all the instructors carry every day. And I saw women with holsters and wearing them, and I was like, man, there was a little bit of jealousy, because I was like, I want to feel comfortable enough to do that, but I just didn't. And it was really truly the mental aspect of what the responsibility you carry when you carry,
Yep.
and what are you going to do? What are you really going to do if you have that on you and something goes down? And I saw all those women carrying, and I was like, I want that one day. I knew I did, and it just took time. It took me a long time, and I would put it on and wear it around for a little bit, and then I would take it off. And I'm not a scared type of person. I'm not fearful about it, but it is a lot of responsibility, and you got to understand what you're going to do. What are you going to do? And today's class, I feel
think that
really
that's
good about
important,
that.
and I think that it shows, it definitely shows a glimpse into your mindset, and I think it's important. You've got to have that kind of mindset to think about, because carrying a pistol is more than just carrying around a tool. It's so much more power,
Yes.
and it's such a huge responsibility.
Yep.
And I don't think that a lot of people look at it as such the responsibility, but it is something that. It's just something that as the world around us continues to spiral out of control on a regular basis, that I think that it's just especially a tool that can unequivocally save your life or save the life of someone else.
Right. Your loved ones, yeah.
So now that you've kind of transitioned into this, like the biggest message that I really want to get to the women in the I guess hopefully into the shooting community. Mm-hmm. We'll say pre-shooting community. The message I really want to get to women or get out to women is how there's barriers. There's obviously barriers that prevent more women to come to classes like this. I know that you mentioned, really kind of the not so much as a fear of the gun because you were comfortable around guns, but the fear and maybe a little bit of anxiety about the responsibility of having that on your body every single day, because you realize that if you didn't have it on you, then if something happens, it's not going to help you if you don't have it. Kind of like a fire extinguisher in a fire. So what message would you give to other females out there that are at home that either were like you, or maybe the women that have survived a horrible encounter with an abusive spouse, or just a terrible act of violence? Those women that want to do more, but they're scared to make that leap. Like, what do you feel what message would you give to those women that are out there that feel that way?
So I think I refuse to live in fear. And in order to not do that, I need to prepare myself. And I think that's the ticket. The more you can educate yourself and train and seek out the training by a reputable source in order to get to that point to where you can defend yourself, that's the key for me. And that, I think that anybody who's been through any of those events, or people who even maybe just naively are like, I'm safe. Yeah. Anything could go down anywhere. You could be shopping in Target. You could be driving your kids somewhere. You could be fill in the blank. Something could go down, and wouldn't you like to live under that blanket of preparedness to be able to say, if something happens, I can take care of myself or my loved ones? So
do you feel that your confidence as a prepared woman has gone up exponentially now that you've taken the classes that you've had, you've taken the training that you've got?
Yep.
How is your confidence level when you pick that firearm up?
Tell
us about that.
After the first class, so just the picking up and how to grip it and how to actually control the weapon to where you can do it. That was class 1. The everyday carry class that I took, and the gunfighter pistol that I took here, but the everyday carry, exponentially better. Now, do I have a lot of things to work on? Absolutely. Do I need to keep training? Do I need to keep preparing? 100%. Am I going to take more courses? Absolutely.
That's awesome.
But every single class I take, my confidence goes up substantially every single time.
Higher and higher. Mm-hmm. And I think that it opens yourself up to also as your level of experience grows, you become more selective on the people that you allow to train you, because the reality is, if you look at it, your mind is a very precious thing, and you should be very careful about the types of people that you are allowing to open your mind up to different types of philosophies, different viewpoints and training tactics and those types of things. So anything else that you would like to share with the women community when it comes to overcoming any fears? I do want to say I really appreciate you coming just and sitting down with me today so that I can share this message with other women as well.
I'm happy to do it. I think the more women can see other women going through this transition, let's call it, the more they can understand, I can do that too. You can do anything you want in this world. You just have to do it, you know?
Right.
And I think it's super important to vet who you're getting trained by. And because you'll hear people say, well, we don't want to have to, you know, train you out of those bad habits that you formed for whatever reason.
Right.
These guys, elite. They are the elite trainers in the space, and I'm happy that I stumbled upon them. I stumbled upon them. You know, it was a podcast that led to a podcast, and I was like, wow. And they just resonated with me. Mike, Kevin, Raul, all of those guys, and I'm just like, they're awesome. And and after watching so many podcasts, I was like, if they're 10% of what appears, and they're 100% more than that. They're in person. They're amazing. They come up, they talk to you, they're very, I mean, they treat everybody the same.
Yes.
Women, men, there was a 13-year-old in our class, everybody I've talked to is like, that was amazing.
Yeah, so for those that obviously that may have not seen the video, we had a very young female shooter that is the daughter of one of the instructors that was actually in our training class, and she done great.
Well, she's amazing.
She done an amazing job,
Yep.
and so you know, and that's another testament to women that, I mean, this is something that you can absolutely overcome. And as a matter of fact, she only started shooting 2 days ago. Mike actually set some time aside.
That's not her. So yeah, it's the other daughter, but yeah.
Other daughter,
yeah,
okay.
It's another person, but yeah, one of the 17-year-olds, a 17-year-old girl who was here with her mom, started shooting 2 days ago, and today did an amazing job. Like, her ability, you know, to just and feel comfortable with it, and then she was excited, and I'm like, I love seeing this at a young age, to learn to be proficient.
And you
to
actually
not have to
watched
walk
her in the beginning, and by the end, like, you actually watched her make a leap in her training
Absolutely.
abilities.
And you see her walking around now, and she's just, the confidence is like, you know, she was a little bit, and it's like, God, I love that. And I'm looking at her parents like, yes, this is awesome. Yeah.
So are you on, I'm assuming, social media, Instagram? If other women had questions, or if they wanted a source of someone that they could reach out to,
Sure.
you care
just
if we
send me a message. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, guys, what I'll do is I'll include her Instagram link down below, so that way, if you are curious, if you have specific you know, questions that you maybe feel more comfortable talking to a woman about, just about her experiences, I'll make sure to include that down below. And again, if you're watching this and you're a guy, make sure to share this with anybody that you know that could benefit from this video, just because, again, I am really, it is a passion of mine to really help get more women into the shooting community, so that we can lower the amount of statistics of things that happen to women.
Yep.
And that's where it starts, guys. We have to start reaching out to those women and try to lift them up into this, to make them, you know, just to ease their mind into it, and really just help support them. And so with people like you that can share your testimony and your stories, I think that we can come together as a community to help bring more into the fold, if you will. And I can't thank you enough for coming and sharing this with me today, and thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, so I hope that I didn't fail too bad at my first interview, but I actually really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed learning something about someone else and about their own personal journey into firearms. It definitely gave me some things to look at, and a more, definitely a deeper level of respect for those great podcasters out there, such as Mike Glover, such as Mike Ritland, Sean Ryan, and the list goes on and on of those other great podcasters. You know, there's a lot to do to not only be engaging with the person that you're interviewing, but also to engaging enough for you guys sitting at home. And if you're new here visiting my channel, I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by. Consider hitting that like button. That actually helps this video get seen more on YouTube because of algorithms. Guys, and don't forget, if you are not a subscriber, please consider hitting that subscribe button, guys, and turning that bell notification on. I'll be working as diligently as my schedule will allow me to, bringing you guys 4 video reviews of the classes I took with Mike Glover of Fieldcraft Survival, and I promise you guys, you're in for a treat. I cannot wait to bring you this content, guys. So as always, thank you so much for your continued support here on the channel. Till that next video, guys, take care, be safe.